Disclaimer: this video created purely for entertainment purpose. A harsh slap echoed in the room. Wine was on the floor holding her cheek, her small body trembling from the impact. It had become a daily routine, her stepmother's hand across her face, her stepfather's cold glares, and their cruel words. In her own house, Wine was nothing more than a maid, a punching bag for their frustration. Her stepmother, Mrs. Lee, grabbed a fistful of Wine's hair, yanking her up roughly. Wine winced in pain, her small hands clenching. Her stepmom's raised, but she was too weak to fight back. Mrs. Lee, you think I'm stupid? Mrs. Lee hissed, her eyes narrowing. You think I didn't see that you broke the glass? Wine shook her head desperately, her voice trembling. Ma'am, I promise I didn't break it. It was Emma. I swear I didn't do it. Another sharp slap landed on Wine's face, making her stumble back. I'm not giving you any food for 2 days. Let's see how you work when you are starving. Mrs. Lee sneered coldly. Wine collapsed to her knees, clutching at her stepmom's leg in desperation. No, ma'am, please, you already didn't. Give me food for 2 days. Please, please don't. She begged, her small voice breaking through sobs. Mrs. Lee's face twisted in disgust. She yanked Wine's hand off her legs and slapped her again. How dare you to touch me with your filthy hands? She spat. Wine quickly pulled her hands back, slinking away in fear, her body trembling like a flagel leaf, like a storm of their cruelty. This was Wine's everyday life. Starvation, blame for things she never did. She wasn't always treated like this. Wine was just 4 years old. Mr. and Mrs. Lee had adopted her from orphanage. They had smiled. They had called her their daughter. For a brief moment she had known love. But everything changed when Mrs. Lee found out she was pregnant with their biological child. The love turned into hatred. The hugs turned into slaps. The warm home turned into a prison. Wine, who was barely 5 and a half, bruises on her skin and tears streaming down her cheeks. Wine cried silently for the things she didn't do, for the love she no longer had, for the childhood she was never allowed to live. In Jungkook's office, Namjoon, his secretary, walked in a serious expression. Sir, you are right. Mr. Lee is the one who leaked our confidential information. Namjoon informed, a smirk tugged at the corner of Jungkook's lip. I knew it. That old man doesn't know how to stay in his limits. Namjoon asked curiously. Then what do you plan to do with him? Jungkook leaned back in his chair, eyes glinting with cold amusement. I won't have to lift a finger. His downfalls will hurt him more than anything I could ever do. He's going to come clawing to me. Just wait and watch. Namjoon nodded, understanding, and silently left the room. Not long after, the office room burst open. Mr. Lee stormed in, his face pale with desperation. Sir, please, I need to speak with you. Mr. Lee pleaded. Jungkook didn't even bother to look up from his desk. His voice was sharp, cold, and terrifying. Get out. Mr. Lee froze on the spot, trembling. Sir, please, my company is on the brink of bankruptcy. I beg you, don't sell my shares. I will do anything you want. Please. Jungkook slowly raised his head, his dark eyes locking onto Mr. Lee's like a predator, sizing up his prey. Your company, your problem, not mine. Desperate, Mr. Lee fell to his knees, clasping his hands together. I'll do anything. I'll be your servant if you want, but please don't destroy me. Jungkook's lips curled into a smirk. Finally, Mr. Lee was right where he wanted him. Stand up, Jungkook commanded. Mr. Lee stumbled on his feet, nervous sweat dripping down his forehead. Jungkook stood, his towering presence overwhelming. He stepped closer and uttered coldly, "Marry your daughter to me." Mr. Lee's face went blank. His precious daughter, Emma. No, he couldn't let her. Marry a ruthless mafia king like Jungkook. No, anything but that, Mr. Lee stammered. I can give you my house, my company, but not my daughter. Jungkook's patience thinned. Then get her from my office. I don't care about your pathetic company. Mr. Lee's leg wobbled, his mind racing. Then a wicked thought crossed his mind. His stepdaughter, the orphan girl he despised. Yes, her. Mr. Lee suddenly said, You can marry her. Jungkook raised an eyebrow, his expression unreadable. Are you sure? Mr. Lee nodded eagerly, his desperation outweighing any paternal instincts. Yes, you can take her. Jungkook's smirk deepened. Good. Tomorrow I'll come with the marriage papers. Make sure she's ready. Mr. Lee saluted her, then said, But first we need to sign a contract. You have to promise not to sell my shares. Jungkook internally cursed the man's shamelessness. He didn't care about his daughter, only his company. Fine, Jungkook said coldly. We'll sign it after the marriage, not before. Mr. Lee nodded, defeated. Now get out, Jungkook ordered. With his head low in shame, Mr. Lee left the cabin. Jungkook watched his retreating figure with a smirk of triumph. Wine was on her knees, clutching Mr. Lee's leg, sobbing uncontrollably as she begged, Please don't do this. Please, I beg you. I didn't do anything wrong. Why are you doing this to me? I'll do whatever you say. Just don't do this. I can't, please. But Mr. Lee coldly yanked his legs away, looking down at her with disgust. Do you even realize how important my company is? Your useless excuse won't save it. By tomorrow you will be ready, no matter what. Wine's trembling hands reached out desperately, holding his wrist, her voice breaking. Please, I can't marry him. Please, I'll do anything else. Clean the whole house. Cook, starve for days if you want, but don't do this to me. He's a mafia king. He will destroy me. He won't let me live. Mr. Lee's eyes darkened. Without a word, he yanked his hand free and slapped her. The slap was so fierce that Wine collapsed to the floor, clenching her cheek. Her head spun, the sting of the blow making her vision blur as tears streamed down her face. Mr. Lee, how dare you to touch me without my permission? Mr. Lee spat in fury. He turned to his heel and stormed out, leaving Wine trembling on the cold floor. Mrs. Lee, who had been standing nearby with folded arms, sneered at her. Get up and get lost in your furtive room. Tomorrow you better be ready. No more drama. With that, Mrs. Lee too walked away. Wine remained on the floor, her soft filled the empty room. Her world was collapsing, but no one cared. Her life was about to get much worse, and she didn't even know how to stop it. Later, Jungkook sat at the dining table. One set everything perfectly, various dishes, neat and clean. He was surprised. How did she manage to make all this? He thought, but his face remained blank as he started eating. Suddenly, a soft glow echoed in the quiet dining hall. One's stomach. She flinched in embarrassment, lowered her head. Sit. Jungkook's cold voice cut through the silence. One froze, her body shifted, not daring to move. I said sit. His voice was calm, but it sent shiver through her. One slowly walked over and sat at the edge of the chair, her hands flinching nervously. Eat, Jungkook commanded again. Wine hesitated but nodded, taking a very small portion of food onto her plate. Jungkook noticed everything, how she flinched, how little she served herself, how nervous she was. He said nothing, but inside he grew suspicious. Why is she acting like this? Breaking the silence, Jungkook said coldly, your room is upstairs. Don't come to my room. Also, wake up early. You will prepare all my meals. Wan nodded quietly, eyes lowered, accepting everything without caution. Jungkook didn't say another word. After dinner, he left his room and Wan silently began washing the dishes. The next morning, Wan prepared breakfast as usual. Jungkook watched her from a distance, waiting for his office hour. Just then a sudden crash, the sound of glass shattering. One froze, her face turning pale as she realized what she had done. She bent down quickly, her hands trembling to pick up the shades. Jungkook watched her silently, noticing how she was shaking, terrified. When one's hand got cut, she gasped in pain, but what shocked her more was Jungkook's sudden presence beside her. He grabbed her arms gently and made her stand up. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Please don't be angry. I'll clean it. She was crying, sobbing as she shivered in fear. Jungkook frowned deeply. What the hell is going on with her? Without a word, he took her to the sink and began to washing her hand gently. Are you stupid? Jungkook muttered angrily. Why are you picking up glass with bare hands? Seriously, do you have a brain? Wine was done. She had prepared herself for a slap or harsh clothing, but he was cleaning her wound. Jungkook pulled her to the couch and applied antiseptic carefully, his touch unexpectedly gentle. Now, why are you crying? He asked, his tone softer now, but still firm. One kept sobbing, unable to answer. Jungkook sighed, wiping her tears with his thumb. She flinched again at his touch, making him clench his jaw. You won't do any housework from now on. Jungkook's tone went cold again. The maid will handle everything, understood? Wine looked down at his words, but a strange warmth spread in her heart. No one had ever cared wherever she got hurt. No one had ever told her not to work. Not her step-parents, no one. Jungkook stood up. I'm going to the office. The maids will arrive this afternoon. He left without looking back, but one sat there staring at his disappearing figure. He is not as bad as I thought. He didn't even scold me. He even cared for me. She sighed softly, a small flutter in her chest she couldn't explain. 2 weeks passed by like this. One became a stranger in Jungkook's house. She never roamed around him. She always stayed inside her room. Whenever they crossed paths by accident, one would nervously avoid him, flinching as if expecting him to scold her. She thought Jungkook was scary, cold, dangerous, so she kept her distance, but Jungkook noticed everything. He had often asked if she had eaten, but she had only nodded and looked down, never meeting his eyes. Yet something started to change within Jungkook. When Wine got close, his heart would beat faster. Whenever she avoided his gaze, his chest ached. Over these days, Jungkook had been observing her carefully. Later that night, when Jungkook returned home, he asked the maid, "Did she eat dinner?" The maid shook her head. "No, sir. Ma'am hasn't eaten anything since morning." Jungkook frowned. Why why are you telling me this now? The maid lowered her head. "Sorry, sir. Get out." Jungkook waved his hand, signaling the maid to leave. She bowed and quickly walked away. As Jungkook passed by Wan's room, he heard a faint crying sound. He stopped, his brow furrowed. He stepped closer to the door and slowly pushed it open. It wasn't locked. What he saw made his heart clench. Wan was curled up on the bed, sobbing quietly, sweat glistening on her temple. Jungkook walked to her, knelt beside the bed, and gently wiped the sweat from her face. His touch was soft, careful. "Wan, Wan, wake up." His voice was low yet firm. Wan flinched, her eyes fluttered open. When she saw him, she immediately sat up and backed away, her body trembling. Jungkook sat beside her. "What's wrong? Why are you crying?" Wan lowered her head. Her voice was shaky and scared. "It's nothing. I'm sorry." Jungkook's tone turned cold, a soft, laced with a sharp edge. "Why are you telling me sorry? And are you going to tell me or not? Why are you crying and shivering in front of me?" Wan remained silent, trembling. Jungkook's patience thinned. "I said, what happened to you?" His cold, scary voice sent shiver down her spine. Slowly Wan looked up at him with teary eyes and whispered, "Period." Jungkook's expression softened instantly. He stood up without saying a word and left the room. Wan just sat there staring at his disappearing figure, confused and lost. She eventually laid back on the bed, trying to calm her sobs. But after a few minutes, the door opened again. Jungkook entered, now in a casual t-shirt and sweatpants, holding a tray of food. He walked over and sat beside her on the bed. Wan quickly sat up, surprised. Without saying anything, Jungkook casually started to feed her. Wan's eyes widened, staring at the amount of food on her plate. But Jungkook, with a calm expression, continued feeding her. Wan didn't have the courage to refuse. She quickly ate the food he offered. I'm full. I can't eat more, Wan whispered after a while. Jungkook frowned, his tone serious yet calm. You have barely eaten half. How can you be full? I'm full, Wan said again, shuddering in fear. Jungkook didn't argue. He continued feeding her, and Wan, unable to deny him, kept eating. After she finished, Jungkook set the plate aside, wiped her lips gently, and went to the drawer. He returned with a painkiller and a glass of water. Wan looked at him with her wide, innocent eyes. No one had ever cared of her like this before. This kind of gentleness was unfamiliar to her. She quickly took the medicine and swallowed it. Go to sleep, Jungkook said. Wan laid down, pulling the blanket over her, but to her surprise, Jungkook also laid beside her. Before she could react, he pulled her gently into his arms. Wan's eyes widened, her heart started pounding. Her head rested on Jungkook's bicep while his tattooed arm wrapped around her waist, softly caressing her back. Wan was frozen, her heartbeat raced, but she didn't have the courage to move or speak. Yet his arms, there was a peace, a strange warmth she had never felt before. Slowly her body relaxed, sleep started to take over. But Jungkook didn't sleep, he watched her silently. It was the middle of night, a soft whimper escaped Wan's lips as she shifted uncomfortably in Jungkook's arms. Jungkook looked down, noticing her tense expression, and in that moment he understood. She was in pain. Without saying a word, Jungkook gently placed his hand on her lower stomach, his fingers moving in slow, careful circles, trying to ease her discomfort. His other hand rested securely around her back, caressing softly, offering warmth and comfort. A few minutes passed, and gradually Wan's breath began to slow. The sharp tension in her body eased little by little under Jungkook's gentle touch. She nestled closer, resting her face against his chest, seeking the comfort of his heartbeat, wrapping her arms tightly around his waist, as if it was the only anchor keeping her steady. Jungkook glanced down at the small, fragile figure holding onto him so tightly. A faint, tender smile appeared on his lips as he watched her finally drift into a peaceful sleep. For the first time after a long while, she looked at ease, and Jungkook simply held her there. He tucked a loose end of her hair behind her ear, but he did. His eyes caught a faint scar on her shoulder. Flowing, he carefully brushed her hair aside and noticed more marks, old and new. His jaw clenched, his fingers gently traced over the scar. One stayed sidely, but she didn't wake up. Jungkook's heart clenched, his gaze softened as he stared at her sleeping face. You are so innocent. You don't belong in my world. There is so much I don't know about you. He gently cupped her cheek, caressing her soft, admiring, delicate feature. I think I'm falling for you. You're innocent, your eyes, everything about you.